Today's video is all about Morpho, open infrastructure for on-chain loans. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, the overall value proposition, and ultimately trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome on the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. And the question is Morpho the opportunity? Guys, today we're doing a bit of research. We'll be looking into this project in a bit of detail, trying to figure out again what is about Morpho that makes it super bullish, super fundamentally charged. And at the end of the day, do we accumulate? Do we include Morpho into our portfolio? We'll be using the website. The main platform will be our website, to kind of go through all the little details to see if the team has given us all the fundamental information that we need to get bullish. And of course, we're looking at all the documentation, any white papers or anything like that. And we're going to definitely try to keep this real from a retail perspective, right? The idea here is that we need to focus on understanding this project from a perspective that there should be no barriers to understanding what this project is about. So I'm taking a retail perspective. Of course, at the end of the day, we want retail to be interested, to be ultimately interested to accumulate and to understand what the project is. And this is very, very important from a packaging perspective and marketing communications perspective. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here. Open infrastructure for on-chain loans right off the bat, DeFi. Okay, so DeFi is obviously, you guys know that in the last little while I've been focusing quite a bit on understanding that DeFi should be the proxy right now for a lot of the L1s, right? We should be focusing on DeFi if we're going to see a lot of the altcoins and all the L1s start to wake up and do very well, on-chain transactions, this and that. We really need to start to see, we're going to see DeFi wake up a little bit. That is an indication that there is on-chain transaction, on-chain volume. And if there is volume and transaction and market participation, that means that there's something happening that is interesting, right, on that chain and within that ecosystem. So Morpho, definitely an interesting project. We'll get right into all of the details very shortly. Let's continue going down. I want to scrape through the website just to get an understanding with you guys, and then we'll try to get through a lot of the documentation that I have found here to get some ideas. Connect to the most trusted lending network. Earn, borrow, build. Okay, so it's a lending and borrowing protocol, okay, which is part of the DeFi narrative, of course. Total deposit and a total active loan. So there is some numbers to be said right here, as you can see. Trusted by, so you got a lot of logos. As you guys know, I'm not a big fan about logos without, being backed up by some sort of post of some sort that explains what these logos are about. Obviously, we know, Ledger, Lido, MakerDAO, and all the rest, obviously. But the thing is that, what is it? Why should we be bullish, right? So click, 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 nothing happens. Unfortunately, it would be nice for this to be clickable or for it to be, to redirect us to a blog post. And we'll talk about their blog in a second, because I think their blog is one of the best crypto blogs that I've seen in a long while. Okay, guys, because as you guys know, I've done over 100 deep dives already. So based on that, ranking out of 100, I would say they're pretty much number one with regards to blog and what they offer on their blog. And it is great. It's good stuff. So we'll talk about that in a second. Earn a little sneak peek in their platform. I'm going to show you their platform in a little bit of detail in a second once I load the app. But ultimately, you can see that it allows you to earn, put your crypto to work. This is an interesting concept, particularly as we look for solutions, software solutions in Web3 that allow us to earn passive income with our stable coins, right? Particularly that's the case, right? Now it doesn't have to be stable coins, could be earning passive income in anything, but you can see that their main value propositions or the details are, it's simple: deposit and start earning. Optimize vaults, continuously optimize allocations. So being able to allocate your capital in such a way where you can maximize your APY, it makes sense. As you can see, the average APY here, I can't push over because it changes the tab. because as you can see over time, what they really want to do is allow you to earn more and more and more depending on where you can put your capital, in the best allocations, pretty much. Tailored, selecting a strategy that fits on basically your risk level. Everybody has a bit of risk, different risk tolerance, and in this case, they acknowledge the fact that depending on your risk tolerance and your risk profile, you could allocate your capital accordingly as to what you see fit. As you can see, there's different trading pairs, different USDCs, DAI, and flagship ETH being a very secure opportunity. Definitely gives you that flexibility to get into an asset that has some volatility, but at the end of the day, be able to earn some passive income. So not bad. And more importantly, guys, now I understand this technically for me should be at the top, but I understand why they would leave it at the bottom, because this is like the cherry on the top. And this is part of what gets me really interested with Morpho, is because the trend right now in DeFi is to be completely non-custodial, and non-custodial essentially means no third party. Okay, and ultimately we've seen a bit of a trend here in the DeFi space, particularly with the DEXs, that we are now able to trade and interact with DeFi protocols in a non-custodial way. So deposit in trustless smart contracts, and that basically means that you're able to keep control of your assets while still engage within the DeFi space, which for us here in crypto land, we're starting to really see some good product offerings that allow us to move DeFi into that direction, finally move into that direction. I would say, this was a concept that we've really realized that we needed previous cycles, and obviously cycles before the last cycle. But the last cycle, I felt even more important, that we needed to kind of step away from centralized, DeFi. And these steps that we're taking within, the DeFi space is obviously going to shape the way crypto in general interacts within a marketplace, right? Within, the market. Generally speaking here, guys, we have a non-custodial lending and borrowing protocol. So that for me is quite bullish. Lending and borrowing protocols, and we have DEXs and all the other things that can come in the future in a non-custodial way. Guys, the future is here. This is what we've been waiting for. So for me, from a fundamental perspective, this is interesting. Is this going to get the first mover advantage? Is this going to be the opportunity for where we can start seeing these other financial instruments that are, very typical in the traditional finance, and have been quite typical here in crypto land, but not in a non-custodial way? Is it time to see this transition? And I think that we're getting there, guys. And this could be the first mover advantage here with Morpho. So bullish for me. I appreciate that. Let's keep on going down. So now the borrowing aspect: provide collateral to borrow any assets, low cost, reduce your borrowing cost, high collateralized factors, borrow more against your assets, per market rates, so pay interest rates according to your collateral and risk, and zero fees, borrowing with no extra charges. Guys, these are things that really have to keep us interested. Okay, and I like the website, by the way. Side point here, the website's nice and clean. It seems very simple, and so on. Okay, so you can see that there's a little bit more details for curators and business. Now, at the end of the day, I'm not going to get into too much detail here because I feel like maybe it adds too much detail for what we really need. But curate, earn fees for optimizing yield and liquidity. Build your own lending use case with Morpho's powerful infrastructure. So a bit of customizability. Okay, so interesting stuff there. Less is more, and is more secure. So that's another thing that I find very interesting as well, is that their whole protocol is quite simple. Like, it's not a complex thing. Where the complexity comes in is in the non-custodial aspect. That's where it's like, and it's still not even that complex, but still it is complex enough to give it such a high value proposition. We have to understand that Web3 decentralization is achieved in many different ways, and one of which is decentralizing authority, and particularly the agreements that we make with one another, and that's where non-custodial comes in, right? So for me, that's perfect. Morpho's minimal architecture ensures every line of code is audited, verified, and trusted. Guys, just quickly take a second here and just talk about how important it is for DeFi protocols to be completely risk risk-free with regards to not having any malignant code or any code that can be exploited or anything like that. So what's important is that these DeFi protocols take every step possible to become audited and completely verified and trusted by the general public. We are seeing how important this is in this space. Although we are still in the wild, wild west, we have to understand that these precautions need to be put front and center. And I'm glad to see that they have 25 plus audits to date, ranging from many different organizations. Some of them are so very popular. We've seen many of these in this space already, and Open Zeppelin and so many more. At the end of the day, guys, this is what we need to see. So the security, the audits are here, 25 plus. I would say that's really good. They also, let's shift over to say what's happening here. They have a bug bounty program. So a proactive approach to a preventative strategy would to be give white hat hackers an opportunity to find bugs within their code and their tech stack, and ultimately give people rewards in a healthy way without causing pain. Right, so this is, for me, this is great. It's a easy way to get the community involved and making sure that the protocol, in a very decentralized way and community-based way, to get the protocol nice and secure. So they're doing their thing right here, which I appreciate. Built and formal verification. You can see built to be formally verified, and this is how they're verified through Certora and many others. So check that out. I'm glad that they have this here. For a DeFi project, this is important. This is good. Okay, so let's move on. Backed by leaders, reshaping finance. So backed by, usually when I see backed by, I mean, okay, they're here providing capital, and here we are. We have Rabbit Capital, A16Z. It's not the agent, the AI agent. It's the actual VC, A16Z. It's pretty big. Coinbase Ventures, okay, another major one, given the fact that usually Coinbase ventures related incubator projects eventually get a nice smooth transition into Coinbase, which of course is bullish nonetheless. And there's others here, Pantera, as you can see, and many others, right? So now again, how they are backed, what the relationship is particularly or specifically, guys, again, I would have loved to see a click and then right into what Coinbase has to say. And this is good, but really what they're doing is taking to Coinbase Ventures and speaking about what the ventures is, which is good. As you can see, it's a portfolio of various different projects and different things, and being part of that is definitely epic. And then you start to click around even more. You have Kraken Ventures, another one, Pantera, click. You want to know what Pantera is, and the first institutional asset manager focused on exclusively on blockchain technology. What is Pantera? Here you go. You got some information. So that's great. That's great. And that is definitely a good start for giving us that transparency. But what exactly does this mean? Like, are they purely VCs, capital, or are they, this and that? We got to do more research. Obviously, a bit of research, dig on their socials, ask around, see what's going on. And obviously, having these logos are great. And at least they're clickable, and you can go see and research what these companies are about, these venture capitalists all are about. So bonus here, good stuff. You can see some heavyweights definitely here. And I know a lot of people don't like VCs. And, over time, as an investor, as a trader, I've come to terms with the fact that VCs are not going anywhere. Either, there's VCs, institutionalized VCs, or there's going to be private VCs, right? Whales that come in here and do their thing. Regardless, there's manipulation happening at the ground level with regards to early stakeholders, whether they be VCs or whales or who knows who. At the end of the day, there's manipulation happening, and the reason why there's manipulation happening or volatility with regards to those early stakeholders is because they're all interested in profit. Who isn't? So we need some of these individuals, some of these institutions to come in here and put fuel to the fire and cause, the reactions that we need on the chart based on their ability to infuse capital into the project, provide marketing dollars, listings on exchanges, and so much more. Okay, so we kind of need it, but on the same token, no pun intended here, we still need to understand that these individuals are going to take profit. Right? That's their main objective. Okay, venture capitalists, they're here to make profit on their investment. So we got to be quick to understand that although we are fundamentally bullish on a particular project, in this case Morpho, we have to understand that who we're playing against are these guys that are in the business of getting into a business, a project, funding that project, and taking their initial investment off the table as soon as they can. And on top of that, still make enough capital or enough earnings gains in order to consider themselves profitable. So they are the ultimate traders. So we need to follow them on how they play this market. And when you see Coinbase and a lot of these other bigger VCs all up involved, what you have to ask yourself is, how am I going to follow their lead? And that's what we need to be doing here, guys. Don't look at them as the enemy. Just look at them as the opportunity that we have to see our bags pumped, okay, by these guys right here. Okay, so they're yes, they could be a challenge, but definitely this is what we need, unless we're going to do fair launch, and fair launch projects have a hard time in different aspects. Okay, we'll talk about that another day. As you can see, we end the website with some good links. Okay, I have a lot of these open already. You can see their socials, their community, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm appreciating the LinkedIn guys. You guys know that I appreciate that. We get to know a little bit what the team is about. A nice Discord, which is great. I don't see any Telegram, so I don't think they have a Telegram, which is fine. But the typical DGen loves Telegram, but Discord, guys, it's where it's at. Discord is amazing. Yeah, you can really foster a real tight-knit community with high-quality individuals, high-quality conversations, which for me is much more important. So I appreciate that they have a Discord there, and a few other little things. Data, Dune, if you want to go see some of their on-chain. They're on DeFi Llama, Token Terminal. They got Brand Kit and many more documentation. So I do have some of these tabs open. So let's get right into that. Okay, so this is the Coinbase, this is this, and this is that. Okay, so this is the actual DApp. Okay, this is the actual application. As you can see, earn on your terms. You can connect a wallet, and then you can come in here and basically stake up on these trading pairs, and you can earn your collateral. You can see on some of them, 3.6. Here you have almost 7%. And again, obviously you're gonna get higher rewards on the more riskier ones. This is the reality. In terms of risk to reward. So just keep that in mind. Less risk, less reward, and that's usually a direct correlation. So just keep that in mind. And you can see there's a lot happening here. Okay, so this is the earning. This is the borrowing aspect of things. Provide collateral to borrow any asset, and then you can see you provide collateral and you can borrow whatever you need here, and then explore and some other things. So join and come and check this out, because I think it's quite interesting to kind of see how things work as well. Getting your hands dirty, connect the wallet, obviously be safe there. Get another wallet, start up another hot wallet, and connect and do your thing so that you don't put anything at risk, just in case. Obviously Morpho's done their due diligence, but nonetheless, you get what I mean. So when you're experimenting, no matter what, it's not about trust, it's about, we're in experimentation mode. So make sure you just get another wallet to experiment with, if you get what I mean. All right, so that's the DApp. It looks well established. The dashboard, you need to connect a wallet to get more information about your own positions and all of that, and that concludes that. So pretty clean, and it's in line with the website's clean. This is clean, everything's pretty good. Now with regards to documentation, I appreciate the documentation. I don't know why this margin is so big. Let's see if I can just make this slightly bigger here for you guys so we can see this a bit better. That's good. Oh, maybe that's too much. There we go. That's a little bit better. So as you can see, there's a lot of info here, which I appreciate. But I'm going to just say this. The first, section with regards to concepts, I would consider that like a glossary of information regarding the way it functions, its tech stack. Now, as you guys know, I'm doing a deep dive based on a token. What is the token, and what is it? What is the team, and what is the token all about, and how does that play out with regards to our portfolio? Now, from a tech perspective, it's important to note some of the details, but I'm not going to get into that much detail. Why? Because again, it's a crypto review, not a tech review. But we'll definitely look at this a little bit. What is a Morpho market? A Morpho market is a primitive lending pool that pairs one collateral asset with one loan asset. Okay, so basically they have a marketplace where a loans an asset with one loan and another, and pairs, they basically collateral assets with one loan asset. So basically it's a lending pool. Okay, so a marketplace where you can, access liquidity. Interesting stuff. Vault. The Morpho Vault has one loan asset and can allocate deposits to multiple Morpho markets. So, what is a Morpho market? So some of its key features here. So a vault is basically where you're able to put your capital. Morpho Vaults is a protocol for permissionless lending vaults built on top of the Morpho markets. So the vault is where the capital is stored within the marketplace. Interesting, right? This is, you're getting a little bit of, and these infographics are pretty cool, I gotta admit. So you can see that this is the markets, and these are your vaults that sit right on top. And the vaults, basically the markets tap right into the vaults this way to tap into the capital as needed. Okay, curator. So owner vault. So a curator in the Morpho ecosystem is an entity or individual who aims to optimize the risk adjusted returns for depositors based on a given strategy. So at the end of the day, you can provide a strategic, basically a strategic play as to how to maximize your APY. And again, this is a mechanism, a technical mechanism behind Morpho. Again, take more time to research that technical mechanism, and that extends to the Oracle concept. And this for me is quite bullish and interesting at the same time, because we talk about oracles quite a bit in this space with regards to DeFi. And this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but this is the first time that I've seen, or it really stood out to me, that a project is attempting or is Oracle agnostic, which means that Morpho takes an Oracle agnostic approach, allowing market creators to select the most appropriate price feed mechanism based on specific market requirements. So what does that mean? That means that technically you can use the ones that are supported, or any Oracle that is supported within Morpho. Which, for me, that's pretty good. You got Chainlink, Redstone, AP13, Pith, and Chronicle. These are the most popular nowadays, particularly Chainlink and Pith. AP13 has been around for a while. Redstone is up and coming, and many talking about it lately. So there's some good stuff happening here. With this Oracle agnostic scenario, you provide options, and not only that, it reduces the choke point. One of the major criticisms of the past within DeFi was the fact that we all relied on Chainlink. Now that we have competition, not only is it healthy for the marketplace to have competition to push these oracles to the next level, but it also gives us options in the sense that we're not relying on one centralized or one central project to provide the data feeds for DeFi. So this is healthy overall, although we could be fans of one given Oracle. It's not about that. It's about the industry in general. This is healthy, and I like their approach with regards to data feed and using oracles. Interest rate models. Guys, there's a lot to be said here with regards to all of this. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but Morpho is an interest rate model. Okay, so agnostic protocol, meaning it can support any interest rate model for its markets. In Morpho, the borrowers pay in a given market. So basically, what it's trying to say here is that the interest rates are interest rates that can be that exist across the market, which is quite interesting, because then there's the competitiveness is cross-chain perhaps, or in different protocols and things like that. So what I find interesting here is its flexibility. Its flexibility is definitely key here, and how it works. You can see there's a lot of details here, guys. I'm not going to get into too much of it, but feel free to check that out. Again, the agnostic concept for me is quite interesting. Okay, so liquidation, obviously, how does liquidation happen here with lending and borrowing? Is there a scenario where these types of things get defaulted, and how does liquidation get handled? Again, check that out. Public allocator, more details. What is the public allocator? So this is a glossary, guys, of different definitions that will allow you to understand how things work. And again, from a tech stack perspective, this is hours and hours of separate research that you need to do if you really are interested in the details behind that. Okay, so that's that, guys. Blunders, the bundlers, we got rewards, and of course you're gonna have to earn your rewards based on deposits and in providing liquidity and all that kind of stuff. And And the rewards come in different shapes and sizes. The Morpho DAO is one of them. If you are, providing liquidity, you should have some voting privileges. And I'm glad to say that ultimately there is governance for this organization. So let's jump right into that. Something about the token. What is it used for? At the current moment, the token is only used for governance. And that is one of the things that, I would critique at the current moment as a negative. However, I could also consider it an opportunity. And you can understand why. Because as the project matures, and it seems like it's still very, very worked on, but as it matures, increasing the utility of the token is very possible. And it is on the roadmap to eventually include, some other utility. So what is the actual token used for? So at this current moment, it's very clear and they're very transparent about the fact that because they're still in this phase, the only thing that the token is used for is governance. And that's usually the case here with DeFi, particularly the DeFi of the past as we knew it. Okay, because earning rewards from holding tokens was a security. Now all of a sudden there's a lot of flexibility and transparency with regards to the frameworks of DeFi. So we can see that potentially Morpho is going to have an open, let's say, opportunity to extend its utility with regards to the token. So governance right now, that's all it is. You hold a certain amount of tokens, you get to vote, and that's about it at the current moment. Okay, so is that is it a positive in the fact that there's an opportunity for the future? Yes. Is it a negative because right now there's nothing really to be done with it? Yes. So you have to make your decisions here, guys. Is it an opportunity or not? That's the thing. Now, if you look at the Morpho token, and the Morpho token is protocol governance token. Again, as I mentioned, made up of holders and delegators govern the Morpho protocol. The governance system is used a weighting voting system in which the number of Morpho tokens held determines the voting power. Very typical. Again, it could be a very imbalanced way to do things. But so far, the democratic process here is this. If you hold a lot of tokens, you should have the right to have more of a say within what happens. Privileging, deeper pockets. That's up for criticism, of course, but that's the way it is across a lot of projects at the current moment. Okay, so that's that. Legacy and wrapped Morpho. So the original low latency Morpho token was deployed as a mutable contract and lacked functionality. Now they're able to extend that. Okay, so we're moving on from this concept. Morpho token address, lots of transparency here with regards to token deployment and the contract address on Ethereum, on Base, and when they were deployed. So it's been around for about a year or so, whatever. At the end of the day, guys, I still feel the sense that there's a lot being worked on. Even though it is simple, again, without the token utility, there's a lot of work to do still, and opportunity for upside. So for me, I'm still waiting. The maximum supply of 1 billion units is quite a bit psychologically. Okay, let me just make sure I'm clear about that. In the past, when I've done deep dives, that project had such a large amount of max supply, it usually keeps the retail investor worried about how many tokens eventually are going to enter, and this obviously is a concern. And I've seen also projects rework their tokenomics to make it less burdensome to individuals that are reading this. Ultimately 1 billion units it sounds like a lot, but all depends on other factors, right? So this is very, very important. Again, here a little bit of this address and this and that, and then here you have the token distribution. So it's not that bad, to be honest. It's actually pretty clean and clear. But what I would just like to emphasize is the amount of this pie that gets allocated to early stakeholders. Now, again, I'm not trying to spread any FUD or anything like that, but usually this is how it works. Okay, you have to really look at individuals that are considered early stakeholders, and that's a very broad statement because who's early could be many people: the team, obviously the founders, any early contributors, any investors, any strategic partners, any airdrops airdrops, anybody that got airdrops or anything like that. And if you kind of look at what's really happening, you can see that a good 50% of it, maybe a little less, is allocated to early stakeholders. You have strategic partners with 27%, you got the founders with 15%, and you got the early contributors with approximately 5%, which means if you add this all up, it represents a good portion of the pie. And then reserved for contributors, which, okay, fine. Morpho Association Reserve, okay, fine. And then you start to really blur the lines of, who holds the majority of the tokens. Like, are they early investors, early stakeholders, or not? It's like almost 50-50 here, guys. So it kind of bothers me. However, now let's be real about this, because I just want to be honest and transparent here with what I'm saying, is that with a vesting schedule, we can, rest assured that all these early stakeholders are going to get their tokens, their allocation, little by little. We have to understand that that's the case. However, we still have to understand that those tokens are still going to pass through their wallets. So it's a psychological thing right now to really understand, is that although it's the emissions, the way the amount of tokens they're going to get within a particular time is going to be distributed evenly and slowly, so that there's no dilution on the token price, which is ideal. That's exactly how it needs to be done. Just understand that those individuals are going to be gaining tokens over time, and when the incentive to sell is there and presents itself, guys, they're gonna sell. And what happens is that because of those tokens being so early, and they're gonna sell with aggression, what happens is, guys, you're gonna see massive retracements. And this is the reality with bear markets, particularly with new projects with lots of token unlocks coming around the corner. Okay, now to say we'll talk about the emissions in a second. Okay, guys, bear with me. I'm just trying to be very open because again, I'm quite interested in Morpho. But we really have to understand how we're going to defend ourselves here when we accumulate projects like this, because they're early. Okay, so again, I already kind of went through this. 35% goes to the Morpho DAO, which is great, okay, because you're decentralizing the tokens now. That's the decentralized part. So half of it are very centralized to early stakeholders, and the other half is now going to the DAO, where it can be, individuals can vote on how these tokens are going to be distributed or used within the ecosystem. And that's ideal. Decentralizing tokens, that's good. That's one way to do it. Users and launch pools. So 5% tokens have been distributed from the Morpho DAO to users of the mempool of the Morpho protocol, and launch pools and participants. Okay, I feel like these are already in distribution. We'll take a look at the schedule in a second. Morpho Association tokens are allocated to the Morpho Association for ecosystem development. I believe that this is, for the team to do what they got to do. It's not that much, which is fine. The team needs some liquidity to do what they got to do. We have to understand that this is a machine that needs oil once in a while, and this is part of it. Okay, reserved for contributors. So tokens are reserved for contributors to the Morpho protocol for the roles in developing the growth of the network. The reserve includes unallocated tokens set aside by Morpho DAO for future contributors. So I guess it's a little bit of something more oil, I guess, between the two type of thing that can be used to oil the machine. Strategic partners. This is where the VCs and all of that comes into play, and you can see that they have a strict emission schedule. So we have to understand that the vesting schedule based on times these strategic partners join the Morpho ecosystem: cohort 1, cohort 2, cohort 3, and these are their vesting schedules. 4% allocated over 3 years vesting with a 6-month lockup. You can read this, guys. I'm not going to read it for you, but you can see 17% originally allocated over 3 years vesting schedule with 6-month lockup. Okay, more details. Read it, go over it. You can see that there's a clear path to complete dilution for this category. Okay, and I'm gonna show you a chart so you can see it visually. Again, I'm not gonna bore you by reading through all of it, but you can see that there's a lot of information here. Now the founders get 15%, but again, the tokens were originally allocated over 3 years vesting schedule with a 1-year lockup from when the token was deployed in 2022. Now it seems like it's an older project, but again, I still feel that a lot of work has been done since then, that it feels like it's a very new project. Like, it feels like it's a very new project because they actually have a product that now can be, sent out to market. And they're waiting for, again, and we're all waiting for a little bit more utility, because their product is the token. If you're here in Web3 and you're not realizing that your product is the token and its utility, then you're in Web 2 mentality. Okay, this is why I do deep dives, guys, and I really focus on crypto as a Web 3 project, not a Web 2. Okay, so this is important. What is the token used for? That's what we're here for, and that's what we're trying to figure out. However, all co-founders have agreed to relock additional 2-year. Wow, that's pretty good. So go check out that. You can see they decide to relock up, and that shows commitment by the team that ultimately they're not interested in taking profit. They're here for the long run. And I looked into the team. They're young, and I can imagine that they really want this to work out because of them being so young. It's going to create a scenario, a foundation, for future. Right, because if they do this well and it flourishes and it becomes a success, their future with regards to everything, their career is going to be laid out for them perfectly. So I can imagine how dire it is for Morpho to actually work out and succeed. Early contributors, again, more early contributors, 5% here, vesting schedule, all of that, and then the supply. Okay, so you can see that right around this level, September 2025, December 2025, September, December, right around this level, guys, we ramp up. That's the scary part. Okay, so we start to really ramp up with regards to emissions, right? So right now we're in 2025 January. Okay, so right into this level. So we're slowly going to entering a level of ramp up, which is not the greatest. The only thing that could save right now the dilution as these tokens get unlocked, okay, the only thing that could save Morpho from, people selling is the fact that the market starts to turn really, really bullish because people won't sell, they'll hold. But then once we see, risk in the space and emotion and a little bit of euphoria, I think that might be a signal for a lot of these people that got their token unlocks and basically have been holding through it to say, it's time to take profit. And I don't blame them, right? Because you're going to see that the whole vesting, the circulating supply eventually reaches its cap right around 2027, 28, which is a few years from now. For that matter, we could be almost entering the next cycle, right? So the reality is this is not going to be a scenario for me personally. Again, I'm not fighting multi-cycle hold scenario, right? This is a scenario, well, yes, we're going to ride it up. We're going to allow the VCs to take a lot of profit. Everybody, early stakeholders are going to take profit on this project. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reaccumulate again within the bear market. And again, I'm not, I'm trying to multi-cycle trade this right now. I'm just trying to give you the mentality that because a lot of individuals are going to be getting tokens right now and very soon, we got to be careful that those are the individuals that are going to dilute the price. And it's absolutely normal and healthy. Okay, it happens with a lot of projects, so it's not a negative thing. That's that. And Morpho DAO voted on enabling token transfer. Okay, community-driven approach and all that good stuff. Okay, so just read through it. I think it's good. Frequently asked questions. This is awesome. You can kind of get more stuff here. Transferable events, swapping, and so on and so forth. So good stuff here. And there's other resources below, which is quite useful. This is good, well-documented, information right here. So documentation is on point. I appreciate it. You get more details with regards to the app and so on here, Morpho interface, and so on and so forth. So as I was saying, guys, another fact is that you can see that the total deposits here on Morpho are going absolutely, they're swelling up, guys. Look at this. So there's active participation here. This is on Dune. You can see the data. Look at this. So really it is looking pretty interesting as a DeFi project. Look at this, guys. Unique users are going up up quick. Very, very quickly. And you can see the supply, the borrowing, total borrowing, it ran up and now it looks like it might, got into a bit of a lull right here, but it might go up for a higher high. And you can see things are looking good with regards to DeFi. Okay. And given, let's just quickly go to CoinGecko, given that it's an Ethereum-based project, again, EVM compatible, we should see this project get a little bit of interest when Ethereum decides to show us the altcoin season. We look for proxies, right? Ethereum is going to be the L1 that's going to usually, statistically speaking, historically speaking, is the one that moves first. Which projects are you going to have that are going to be a proxy to Ethereum's run? And now you're going to be looking for DeFi. It should be primarily DeFi, first of all, and then all the others, below AI, this and that. Okay, so feel free to check those out and have a well-diversified portfolio. But at the end of the day, guys, if Ethereum decides to move first, which is what usually happens, Morpho might be able to really show its true colors when people start looking into the on-chain capabilities of DeFi, especially with regards to non-custodial instruments. So we're starting to see a bit of a wake-up call here on chain, which for me is a good signal. Okay, it's not bad. Since 2024, it's been up only pretty much. So that's not bad of a scenario. Now we start looking at the contract here. We see that the distribution is quite healthy. You see that there's the token allocation here right into the contract, approximately 66%. We got another contract, and then we have a 2.7% right in here. I would like to know a little bit more about this one. It's a little bit big, but it got base right next door, and a lot of other contract wallets belonging to the DAO, seed funding, and so on. So there's a lot of transparency here, and I appreciate that. So you're not seeing a really concentrated wallet distribution of tokens on chain here, so it's not bad of a scenario with regards to coin distribution. So another way of decentralizing authority, decentralizing is, making sure your coins are well distributed amongst many, many wallets. And you can see that's very valid, given the fact that the project has been audited so many times by so many different, companies. At the end of the day, we can rest assured, obviously as much as we can, the fact that everything with regards to this liquidity is safe. Okay, so that's that, guys. Obviously, this is the wild west in crypto land. Obviously none of this is financial advice, but at least we know that the Morpho team has done their due diligence to protect their liquidity, so that's pretty good. And then to here, let's quickly get into I like this website, CryptoRank. Pretty good. It gives you a lot of information. Let's do the overview first before we get into the team quick. As you can see, some good info. We'll talk about the price action at the end of the video, so no worries. I just want to look at the vesting. Let's see if we can just quickly go to vesting. More tokenomics here for a second. You can see that ultimately, they're based on their schedule, they're getting these unlocks right here. Now I want to drag over, and you're going to see that this is the area where things start to get a little bit more heavy on the unlocks. Okay, and I'm going to go on the chart so you can see a little bit better, and you can see it ramps up right about soon. Okay, so like this is where things could get a little hectic. Okay, so right into December, right into here, and this is what we saw also on the documentation provided by the team, is that we're seeing a bit of a ramp up here. The only thing that I would say is that if we don't expect these people to start selling on the market, which is the partners and the cohort twos and all these individuals, the founders and all these people, which they agreed to lock up again and again, I'm not sure if this reflects that, is the fact that the market is so bullish that nobody wants to sell right now. They still see that Morpho can do another few X's, and if that's the case, they'll likely hold. But once those targets start to get frothy, guys, these guys are going to take profit, guys. I'm just letting you know. And I'm going to be one of them. And right now, I think Morpho has a lot of potential. But these unlocks ramping up right here, right now, is where your competition is at. You don't be their exit liquidity. Okay, guys? So that's that. So that's pretty good. And then if we go back to the team, where did I see the team? I know I saw the team somewhere. Their face was plastered all over this. Let's go back. Oh, right here. Let's go to the team tab. Why not? So we got the team. Let's do that again. Right here, we got the three major guys here. We got Paul, co-founder and CEO. We have Julian Thomas, co-founder and lead developer. I'm not sure if I have this dude's LinkedIn open. We'll get that one open right now, just in case. That right there, we'll put it there just in case. And then we have Merlin. I do have his co-founder as well, and they're all doxed, which is great. On LinkedIn, you can get to know a little bit about their background, their education, and you can tell obviously just by their profile pictures that these dudes are young, right? They're ready to go. They're hustling, right? So I just as a side note, I appreciate young talent and the aggression that these individuals can put to innovation, and the focus that they can apply to innovation. So I like to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to put their best foot forward. Why? Because they have their whole future right now that it could be defined by the success of Morpho. And guys, they have some major backers. So this is an opportunity for them. They don't want to fumble this whatsoever. They could leave their mark in this industry at such a young age. So bonus. I appreciate them for that perspective. We'll take a look at their LinkedIn accounts in a second. Now, what do I got here? Oh, this is the DAO. We might as well, while I'm here. Why not? Let's take a look at what's going on here. So, by the way, this is the DAO. Okay, while I'm here, I have so many tabs open, guys. But this is the DAO. Okay, this is where you can come in and have proposals and the voting and all of that. And you can see that there's a lot. There's some things happening here that are current 6 days ago, and they're voting still. This one right here, Katana coin incentives 17 days ago, and you can see there's 14 votes. I'm just gonna tell you this: the team hasn't really given a very clear roadmap, and a lot of the times when you have a strong DAO presence, the roadmap is not defined because it's defined by the DAO. And I'll be honest, a DAO is a slow moving machine, but it usually is a very safe and rewarding machine because it's decentralized. It's supposed to be a very democratic way of creating decisions, of making decisions. And because of that, a roadmap is very difficult to achieve, to keep current and so on and so forth, but it can be done. And I would recommend, and I would hope that the Morpho team can kind of clearly document, especially on that Git book, what is in the roadmap in the next little while, and so on and so forth. But guys, their blog is on fire. Okay, their blog is good, and they give you updates every single month, and we'll talk about that in a second. I just wanted to throw this right in here just to show you what the main value proposition behind the token, which is this right here, the DAO. Okay, so that's that. And we were here, so let's jump right into the LinkedIn accounts of these dudes right here. We got Julian, Morpho Labs head of engineering. Okay, so why don't we talk about him, and then we'll get into the founders and stuff. I was looking into this dude, and Morpho Labs head of engineering, Julian. This is great. So yeah, he's the head of engineering, backend develops, and you can see his experiences. It's not extensive. Like, there's not a lot happening here unless there's things missing. But again, that's his responsibility. This is what we got. This is what we got Montreal Polytechnique. We got Telecom Paris. And so he is definitely a tech guy. He's got his tech background and engineering data scientist. So he's definitely comp sci. He's a computer scientist. Cool stuff. And that's about it. Young, ready to go. Good stuff here. We got our software specialist, engineering specialist. Then we move on, and this is the actual page that belongs to the entire team. It's 54 associate members. It's a pretty large team. I thought of it, earlier. I thought it was going to be smaller, but it's a fairly large team for 54 individuals. As you can see, we got lots of different individuals from different walks of life, business. These are the founders, head of engineering, that's Julian, digital assets, DeFi and risk management, protocol researcher, and so on. More business. We need some business happening in there. Administrator, software engineer, and so on. There's lots happening. Again, you can click and scroll for a while here and kind of dig into what the team is all about. Growth engineer, Morpho Labs, staff-backed engineer. There's engineers everywhere. Okay, everywhere. So this is good. And if you start looking into the team, this was Julian, okay, and then we have Paul. Paul, it looks like he's the co-founder and CEO at Morpho, so he's the spotlight right now. I guess he's the guy. And as you scroll down, he's the experience co-founder, and that's all I got. And is that a good thing? Not really, because I would like to see a little bit more to see where he comes from, what's his background, and so on. But then again, this is all we got, so we got to take it as it is. Now, if you start looking at his experience into, we got Polytechnique, we got blockchain education, which is not very common, but it's slowly becoming a lot more common. And then more blockchain education, which is great. Education with regard specialized within our industry, which, guys, bonus. So it seems that just based on what I see here is that he's young. I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about experience, or even his track record is still young, so he's gonna want to hustle to make this thing matter, and for me that's important. And then we have Merlin here. Let's see what he's got for us. co-founder, Morpho Labs, and then he has a little bit more, which is good. Software development engineer, common stacks. Okay, so a public goods and this and that. Baby VC, part-time, baby VC fellow, VCs, French investment funds, smart contract hacker. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Lisbon, Portugal. Okay, good stuff. Contract deployed on Ethereum, finding vulnerabilities. Okay, so this dude is for DeFi. I think that this is what we need. We need a guy that knows how to find holes. Guys, that's pretty good. And then software engineer and blockchain developer. That's what we need. Okay, so it looks like he's definitely also an individual that's has the tech background to lead the way, which I appreciate. Again, back to Julian. Why do I have so many Julians open? And then marketing. I found this dude interesting. I like their profile pictures, never mind. But I found this dude interesting. Why? Because ultimately, he has some interesting experience and marketing experience. We know that marketing goes a long way with those VC dollars. OP, optimism, unlimited, social media for OP. Okay, not bad. Social media and community manager at Ledger. Pretty good. I'll take that. Look at their growth and so on and so forth. I appreciate it. And some others, right? But again, I feel like the team is young and this is good enough. Like, it's not a lot, but it's great. Those are good. That's a great start to a Web3 career, no doubt. So pretty good, guys. But I'm positive on the team, a young team. And you can look at them. They seem very young and very interested and very qualified. And they have a lot to explore and a lot to prove, which for me is a bonus. Now, with that being said, the roadmap, there's not much clarity, but these guys are giving a lot on social. So let's jump right into the socials. You can see that this is one of their major announcements in the last little while. Coinbase launches crypto-backed loans powered by Morpho. So this is an exact opportunity or exact example, okay, of how you have a working relation or a strategic partnership. This is not just a logo on a website. Okay, so they actually have a working, how can I say this, relationship. Because at the end of the day, Coinbase launching crypto-backed loans and it's powered by Morpho. This is an actual relationship here, guys. So this is bonus good. This is their blog. This is right now what's featured on their blog, top of the banner, which is great. And their blog is very active. And I like their blog because they release the Morpho effect. I think it's every month. And the Morpho effect could be a healthy replacement for a roadmap. And the reason being is their Morpho effect gives you everything you need to know with what's happening within that month in detail. And, sometimes there could be a replacement to a roadmap. You guys know I want to know where the team is going. Because if they're going in one direction, I want to make sure that I'm happy with the direction that they are taking. And it's not just me as a person, my capital. Right? I want my capital to go in a direction that I want it to go to. And if I don't know where the team is going, it's very speculative and that's risky. But when they're giving such documentation on a monthly basis, and I'm going to show you what the Morpho effect looks like, it's not bad, right? So this is the Morpho effect, April 2025. They also have one for May, but I thought I would just give you everything, give you two of them. And you can see the TLDR, give you a little bit of info, highlights of the month, what they've been doing, Morpho powered by Apollo Creed leverage strategy, and the list goes on, guys. They give you a little bit of information here, product releases, what is coming up soon, rewards, open source liquidity bot. This is all stuff that is happening. This is loading. I don't know why it's taking so long, but as you can see, they have a lot of information here. So if you look at the metric highlights, 45% of BTC on base are held in the Morpho protocol. This is interesting, guys. Look right here. Okay, so the Morpho is actually a working product, not just theory. And I appreciate that. And as you continue going, you got did I do the May one? No, that was the April one. I'm almost sure. I just want to make sure. Yeah, that was April. Okay, so let's get back to May. As you can see, May, there's a whole other month, and I'm expecting the next one to come out soon. And if it's not already out, and maybe they do it at the end of the month. I should check into that. But regardless, you can see lots of stuff happen. Safe Wallet app, AgriLayer, Vault Bridge. They got lots of stuff happening. So again, do your research. If you are interested in what they are working on, this is where you're going to get your information. right? As I'm scrolling, and I'm going to give you some more in a second. As you can see, as I'm scrolling, there's great news, ecosystem updates, Rebind, Infinity, Tab Earn, and Fluke. Lots of stuff happening here. So I appreciate their use. And again, the loan's powered by Morpho on Coinbase. And if you continue going on here, another thing that's interesting to me is how they're saying Morpho hyper everywhere. Morpho smart contracts are now deployed on Hyperliquid X Hyper EVM. Because it's EVM compatible, Hyperliquid is as well, with front end operated by Flex Protocol and Hyperbeast. These relationships, this non-custodial concept with regards to DeFi, this is where we saw the proof of concept that this could work, is Hyperliquid. You know, a complete non-custodial perpetual DEX that offers leverage contracts, okay, in a non-custodial way. Now all of a sudden we have a lending and borrowing protocol that's doing a very similar thing, non-custodial style. Guys, this is where we're boiling up some of that future implementation of DeFi. Okay, this is, like I said, first mover advantage perhaps here for Morpho. And again, I don't know of any other projects that are executing this way. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any others or we should be have on our watch list. But this is right now an interesting one for me. Okay, so that's that. The Morpho effect, again, April, I had that one already up, and as you can see, their socials are great. Like, they got lots happening here. They have 71,000 followers, and would like to see a little bit more engagement on their posts, but it's not too bad. As you can see, this one is 96 likes, 18 reposts. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, socials right now are dead. Like, with regards to crypto, they're not very active. So we have to understand that, like, it's not just Morpho that's struggling, it's everywhere. Like, it's all of it. All crypto space right now, views are low, everything is low, engagement is low. Whoever's here right now are individuals that are here where in the trenches, and they're the ones that are hustling through all of this. So just understand that the quality of individual right now that is lingering in this space is high quality degen material. Okay, so we're hoping that Morpho can attract some of that mind share, and especially once we start to see the retail market and some volume entered into this space, that Morpho has a fair share of that mind share. Okay, that's the focus. Now they also have a YouTube channel with some good, interviews and introductions to Morpho and what it's all about and so on and so forth. I think these are great for educational purposes. I would encourage that maybe they do a little bit more, perhaps, because it could go a long way. But I'm interested. This is great. This is, awesome. Good stuff for them. And that concludes the deep dive. Overall, a decent little project that has a lot to offer in the future. And as per usual, guys, I do release an infographic to summarize everything that I've talked about today. This is going to be available on socials as soon as I'm done with this video and posting it. I'm gonna have it all over the socials, so be prepared for that one. And as you can see, there's some good stuff here. So let's talk about this a little bit. Ecosystem, they got a lot happening, and I was able to summarize it in three. There's probably more and different ways to summarize their ecosystem. Morpho protocol, smart contract, Ethereum and base chain. Okay, so this is their main. This is what they have. This is part of their thing, their smart contract. And then the Morpho markets, lending and borrowing and so on. Interest rate models, the IRM, borrowing and lending rates, to be ability to, manipulate that and track that and trade that, that concept. So I give it 9 out of 10. At the end of the day, I believe that their ecosystem is going to flourish even further as their utility increases, because the utility right now is very, very low. As you guys know, at the moment, it's only meant for governance. So as we see their ecosystem grow, I am curious to see what else their ecosystem will provide, and ultimately what utility will be included in because of their ecosystem growth. This is why I want to give a little bit of room to see what happens next. And at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity here to see token utility improve. Okay, future utility includes staking and other reward incentives. Again, we got to wait to see what the team comes up with. This is the wild, wild west, but at the same time, innovation central. right? Like, what are they going to innovate? How are they going to set themselves apart from other lending and borrow protocols? Let's pay attention, because it could be an opportunity. Yeah, there's a gap. We can look at this as the glass half full or half empty. Yeah, whatever the case is, ultimately, there's a lot of upside. You can fill the glass a lot more still, and that means that it's possible that we see a little bit of increase in evaluation going forward because of that. Okay, so just remember that if all of this was 10 out of 10, it would be already a mature project, and likely that we would be a higher market cap. Roadmap, no clear roadmap. And usually I come down hard on a team that doesn't have roadmap. Okay. And let's just be clear that, projects that are backed by a DAO or behind a DAO specifically generally don't have roadmaps. And that for me is not a good excuse. Okay. It just may require a little bit more effort from the team to provide that roadmap. But nonetheless, this is the effort that they put, the Morpho effect. The Morpho Effect is a monthly blog post that seems to give everything that you need, the past, the present, and the future, and all the little details in between. And for me, that's good enough to replicate or to, basically replace a roadmap to a certain degree. They are definitely putting in the work, and that's what matters most. But ultimately, a roadmap allows people to remove the uncertainty from the future. Okay, so that's helpful. It's not enough to know once a month as we're going. Like today, it's already the end of the month, and I don't see the next edition up already. It should be already up there so that we know what's going on for this month, not at the end. So ultimately, is it a roadmap? Where are we at? I think a little bit of clarity there would improve significantly. And I understand the accountability aspect of providing a roadmap and not meeting those expectations. People FUD, people this, emotions. Oh, you didn't hit the deadline, blah blah blah. I understand that, but nonetheless, guys, some clarity would be good. But still, guys, not bad with the Morpho effect. The Morpho effect compensates quite a bit, so I'm pleased to see that. One of the best blogs that I've seen from a team in a good while. Okay, so just think about that. 10 out of 10 for the team. Young team with lots of talent on board, tech, software, education, and focus. For me, that's great. Social lead has a strong background. I appreciate that as well. And again, 10 out of 10. I'm not the one to dock or to look at a team negatively if they're young. Right? It's not about age, and it's not even about age, even about their career, in the sense that it's not like they have 50 years experience or something like that craziness. It seems like they're a young team that are ready to grind, and I prefer that. I prefer a team that is ready to grind and make a name for themselves. So 10 out of 10, and I hope I'm right about them based on what I've read and what I've seen. 7 out of 10 on their socials. I think their X could get a little bit more engagement. It would be nice, given the fact that I think that the marketing dude has so much potential and he has so much experience. I think that he could try maybe to get a little bit more social engagement, but I know it's tough. So kudos to him for dealing with this current market condition, because it's not easy. Trust me, it is not easy to engage with the general public. So let's see what they got there. Medium page is great. So I already, I mentioned that many times. The Medium blog is awesome. Discord is not really active. Okay, so again, that's very in line with what's happening with the general market and sentiment, but still, a little bit more activity would be great. I did ask a couple of questions. I had to wait half a day or two to get a response or something. It took too long, to get a response from someone, and that tells me that the Discord is not active or manned, and it's not abandoned, let's say, but it could have a little bit more engagement happening. And having someone there yapping it up all day long usually creates that social engagement and community that you need, especially if you do not have a Telegram. If you're putting all your eggs in a Discord basket, then you could at least concentrate those efforts and have a little bit of a community behind it. So for me, that's important. Nonetheless, 7 out of 10 from that perspective. And tokenomics. Tokenomics are tough with projects that are in the current stage, because the vesting schedule is definitely there to protect. And there's daily unlocks. Okay, release the tokens gradually. 47% are to early stakeholders, as I mentioned, which again, they're behind that vesting schedule, which is supposed to keep us safe, which I understand. But the May 2026 ramp up in emissions, we already saw a bit of a ramp up. and it's going to really increase, early 2026. I believe even in December, we're going to start, it's a gradual increase, but it's a little bit steep there. And the majority of it starts to come in May 2026. It does start earlier. So my concern is, as we lead into 2026, are we going to have a marketplace that will sustain, sustain so that nobody starts selling early? That's, if we're in a bullish condition, people won't sell as much. That's the reality. They're holding on for a little bit more, and they're holding to see what happens to the market. But if things look ugly, we're going to start to see a lot of sell-off, and I'm worried about that. But nonetheless, this is the wild, wild west of tokenomics, especially with projects that have a decent amount of tokens that still need to be released into emissions. Okay, so just think about that. And as I mentioned, tokenomics-wise, only approximately supplies about 31% of maxes in circulation, which means that a lot more need to be out there, guys. We got to consider that. It's the reality, okay, guys? So just considering the team apparently did mention that they were willing to lock up for another couple years or something like that. I don't know where that stands at the current moment, but sounds interesting to me. Relationships, 10 out of 10, guys. 10 out of 10. I don't know what else to say. Like, I even Coinbase, and there's more. I just put some that were just maybe might be interesting to you guys right here. Coinbase has to make it here. Crypto backed loans on Base, amazing. Trust Wallet and Ledger, stablecoin lending, WorldCoin, if you're into that concept, DeFi and World Map, and so much more. And given that there's such a young team and able to make those connections, bonus 10 out of 10. Okay, that for me, that's great. The Coinbase thing is next level. Okay, next level opportunity for them. And the exchanges, guys, lots of exchanges. No Binance, and that's usually the case. That's usually, and I don't expect, to be honest, I don't expect ever Binance, and it may not happen. It may not happen. Why? Because they're very intertwined with their competition, with the competition being Coinbase, and Coinbase might want exclusivity. Right, and if that's the case, part of their incubator program and all of that kind of stuff, it may never get listed on Coinbase, but it may. You never know, right? What happens there? But nonetheless, right now, it's 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. If you think that it'll never get on Coinbase, then it reached its cap. There's no more exchange listings, no more trading exchange listings. It's already matured. It done well. It's all everywhere, guys. It's great. So again, as I mentioned, 1 billion max, only 31% in circulation. Volume is not the highest, but again, the marketplace is pretty dead right now. Not much market participation. It represents approximately 3.5%. The volume is 3.5% of the market cap. I like to shoot for at least about 10%. That would be ideal, but that's in a good, healthy, trending price action. That's usually what we get. And of course, as traders, that's what we want. We don't always get what we want, but we prepare for, the calm before the storm. And we definitely are seeing a little bit of calm. Let's put it that way. Market cap is at about $440 million. So it's not a micro cap. I would say that it's not even a small cap. It's a mid-small, more or less. There's good potential here still. Lots of meat on the bone with regards to gains. And little by little, you got to be patient here. Okay. So the bigger question is, what kind of X's could we do? Right? A lot of us are always questioning, how is this going to help me with my portfolio, my gains? Well, when moon, essentially. So verdict, DeFi, lending, borrowing, non-custodial EVM, lots of good stuff there. This is a mouthful for sure. Futures utility includes staking and other reward incentives. This is what I want to see. Okay, this is what I need to see, because the utility right now is capped to just, the DAO, which is not enough for me. May 2026 ramp up in emissions. I would say that maybe that's even earlier. Like, who knows? Like, we're starting to see a ramp up as we speak. So when is that ramp up really peaking? Right around, early 2026. So pay attention. Morpho smart contracts are now deployable on EVM compatible DEXs like Hyperliquid and so on. Guys, this is great. This is what we really want to see, the integration of other DeFi protocols that are non-custodial, expanding their offerings. Amazing stuff here, seeing these capabilities. Okay, so awesome. Sometimes a specific roadmap is not necessary, and this is a great example of sometimes it's just not necessary. If the team does what it needs to do to just communicate effectively and consistently, the key term is consistently, because I've seen blogs before where they have a blog and then a year later they have another blog post and then they go MIA for another You know, that's a problem. If you're going to commit to using a blog post and give your audience and your community that consistency, make sure that you follow through, because then you lose validity, and that's a problem. So I appreciate that they hold consistent. They have their monthly, newsletter. I forget what it's called right now, but it's amazing. And ultimately, that's what I expect going forward from them, and so does everybody else. So good stuff. Maybe a little bit of forward thinking might be good to see where they're going at within the next quarter or so that we know where human resources and capital resources are going to be allocated in the next little while. That would be very, very useful for the rest of us. Now, if we start looking at, projections, okay, again, this is not a target, this is a projection. Let's hypothetically say that if Morpho competes with Aave and tries to catch up with Aave, and again, guys, we're talking about Aave here, okay, I'm just being honest. Aave is a beast. Aave is a staple. It's the bread and butter here of DeFi. And ultimately, hitting that level is very possible, but then again, it's a little different. Morpho has its own value propositions. Is Aave going to be able to offer similar value propositions and jump on bandwagons of non-custodial and all of this kind of stuff? It's all very possible, but at the end of the day, a 9x is very possible. And especially if we start to see the total market cap of crypto rise above $3.2 trillion, $3.4 trillion. That is the objective of all price projections in this space. It's not just this one. Is that we need to, in order to achieve these price projections, we need to see fresh capital flow in. Without it, guys, it's difficult. So I'm just saying the projection is, if we continue, if we start to see capital flow, if the chart shows us what it has shown us in previous cycle, and perhaps we get the total market cap to about 6 trillion, to maybe about 10 trillion. That would be crazy. That would be amazing. It's definitely possible. We could potentially see Morpho do very well, maybe hit about $15. And I give the project a 9 out of 10 because of its narrative. Its narrative is interesting. Its narrative is bullish. Its narrative is a first mover advantage. Its narrative is one of which we should see proof of life earlier than any other. It's DeFi, and again, non-custodial DeFi. So for me, bullish across these factors, even though, there's some areas of improvement. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a punt, and that usually is enough to get your feet wet, guys. Just, do your thing, do your research, continue this, use this as a launch pad, a base for you to continue doing your research and looking into the tech and all that good stuff for whatever you feel necessary with regards to Morpho. It is a solid project. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the price action, because ultimately we're also concerned about what's going on with price. Price, at the end of the day, as you can see, has nestled right into a horizontal. Okay, it did come down for a bottom into a falling wedge. Okay, and these are one of my favorite structures, and we can kind of move this around and move the goalpost a little bit. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, what matters is horizontal liquidity, and that's what I focus on a lot on my trading. As you can see, that this is the fair value, right? Lots of volume, point of controls there. This is fair value. It nestled right into fair value, and it created its own fair value right here after a bottom. We popped, we made a slightly higher high above this high, which is great, right into here. And then we come down for a bit of a sell-off, a bit of a retracement. Now the question is, do we get a confirmation low, a higher low? You have to understand, guys, that market structure is very important. It's very empowering. The reason being is because at one point we've had many lower lows and lower highs. At what point do we get a signal that we are now making higher highs and higher lows? Well, I told you, like I just said, this was a higher high above this high. This currently could be a higher low above this low. And if it's confirmed, and we start breaking above these little levels here and rolling to the upside, and especially breaking above here with a break of structure, with enough volume, we will get a sustained move to the upside that eventually leads to higher highs and higher lows, and then we can conclude that this is a change of character. So the bigger question is this a change of character? And that's very important, because without one, we're not getting our major signal of a reversal. Change of character is super important right in this level. So that is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, if we kind of zoom in here just quickly, and I'm going to try to get rid of some of this artwork as effectively as I can, because I know I'm having a bit of fun here, but I definitely want to keep it, legible and so on. Let's leave the rest of it. That's fine. Now, if we look at Fibonacci from the swing low to the swing high, you can see that we retraced already to the golden pocket. Is it enough of a retracement? I'll tell you this. We are still making lower lows and lower highs, even on this retracement. Follow this high, it's lower. This low broke below, this low broke below this low, and now we're here, and now we're in a downtrend, as you can see. Okay, so this is a move to the upside, and this as a retracement to the golden pocket. We are in a discount zone. We are currently in a 3-wave retracement structure. That's what it looks like right now. So if you're an Elliott wave guy and you're looking for impulsive move 5 waves up and 3 waves down, it looks like this is what we got. I'm not an Elliott wave trader, but I like to keep it in the back of my mind because it looks fairly healthy. And the most important is the liquidity, the fair value that is achieved right into here. If we can get a confirmed higher low right here, and then break above this top and make a higher high and start changing directions here, guys, then this is also a change of character. So we're looking for a change of character here, big picture, but we also are looking for a change of character here on the lower time frames. Let's say on the 6 hour here, right in between, in this consolidation right here on this retracement. Okay, so this is also very important because you can see we got the sweep of the lows via recovery. And if we can get a proper rounded bottom, which maybe this is it, maybe this requires a stop loss right here and maybe start going long. Because if we start breaking, okay, I'm just throwing it out there, if we start breaking these tops with this lack of volume right here and start hunting the liquidity up here, because I'm sure there's some stop losses and liquidation points up there, but the majority of it being up here, guys, if we start trekking to the upside, this is going to be a scenario where this channel, like I mentioned before, this retracement is over, and we start moving to the upside. So there's a lot of signals to suggest that this could be the proper reversal that we need here for Morpho to finally start moving to the upside. Okay, we have to be clear about that. Now, from a bearish perspective, let's go back on the daily quick, because this artwork is getting out of hand. I'm going to try to clean it up as I go, guys. Bear with me here. The invalidation is super important because we got to be clear about what's happening with our bearish thesis. Bullish thesis, this is it. We need to stay above and to make a higher low above this bottom. Now, what about if we break below? Guys, we got to be honest. If we break below that bottom, get out. You got to get out. You got to understand that that's your invalidation. That's a big problem. Now, I'm not saying you have to get out. I just mean that you have to be prepared that maybe it's over and maybe we're coming down for an extension to the downside. And I'm going to, put that out there for you guys. So I put the horizontal right there. That's your invalidation. Let's get rid of some of this. Let's get rid of some of this. And the reason why it's so important to understand invalidation is because from a bearish perspective, this still isn't a kind of in a downtrend, because this could have been a fake out. If we get a confirmed lower low, we're still in a downtrend from up here. And this was just hunt. This was just a fake out, an inducement to get people thinking that we're going to start reversing, and then no, we come down and shake everybody out. And that's typical in this space, right? We just got to understand that if we are still in a downtrend, the worst case scenario is we start coming down to extension levels. We have the 1.27, the 1.618 that could take us down here. I'm not getting to that level because that would be dip discovery, the abyss of price action, but that is still the possibility. So what I'm focusing on now is considering a 30-30-40. Let me show you what I mean. And this is the power of DCA. Golden pocket, 786, 886. This general area is great. Invalidation right here. So scatter your buy orders, making sure that your portfolio or your bags are not so heavy, so that ultimately, if we do come down, you can endure a sweep and maybe still hold on. Maybe we come back up, and if we get rejected, that's your time to exit. If we get back above and back test in spring, guys, you're going to get heavily rewarded for holding. And if you have enough capital to buy the dip right here and on the back test confirmation, that is where you get your best entries with confirmation. Because on the way down, as we are coming down, if we come down further, guys, ultimately, you're trying to catch a falling knife. That's why these 30-30-40 ideas have to be slow and steady. But if we also have to keep an eye on the market structure that could be built right here, because I see this to be a very mature retracement and ultimately a confirmation or anything right into here that suggests even a flag. Because if you think about it right now, let me just quickly show you. There's a bull flag happening right here on the 1 hour. Let me just quickly get into the 1 hour, scooch this over. Maybe the 1 hour was too much of a lower time frame. Let's do the 4 hour so you can see, oh, look at that artwork. Jeez, what happened? Let's get rid of this. And you can see that ultimately this is flagging out here after an impulsive move. It's slightly retractive. Actually, it's a nice rounded bottom type of scenario, but you can see V recovery, rounded bottom right into here. And then if we break the high, forget it. This is a little bit of a flag, impulsive move, quick exchange of hands, and then maybe continuation on lower time frames. And then we start cranking. What this looks like is the Bitcoin chart. What this looks like is the Bitcoin consolidation that's happening as we speak, and how we're slowly pushing to the upside and maybe hunting a bit of trendline liquidity. As you can see, there's a nice trend line with lots of liquidity to be had based on people maybe shorting and putting stop losses, shorting and putting stop losses. And if that's the case, we can come sweep the highs, you know, get all those shorts liquidated and get that squeeze to the upside and get into a scenario where people start FOMOing, right? And that's what I've been talking about Bitcoin in the last little while. And you can see that generally speaking, let's go on the daily. Are we oversold? Not really. There's still downwards potential here. We're not completely oversold. And even on the last bullish response, it's not like we got crazy overbought either. So we got to keep in mind that we're still in a very, very clear consolidation, trying to figure out which direction we're going. So be careful here, because a confirmation of a dead cat bounce means that we come down for a lower low below the invalidation, which is 78 cents, and then a break above this level right here with a break of structure above 174 is bullish. We're moving to the upside once again with a nice volume gap above. Let's highlight that volume gap before we wrap it up. There's a nice little volume gap here suggesting weakness, which suggests that if we break through $1.60, we can snap to about $1.95 fairly easily, because there's not a lot of resistance above. These are opportunities that I pay attention to, guys. And if you appreciate it, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.